FIFA's own president was accused of secretly promising the 2030 World Cup final to a country whose stadium wasn't even close to finished. And right in the middle of that controversy is Marrakech's biggest stadium. This is a stadium about to change almost beyond recognition. Its distinctive design is being transformed, with major parts of the existing structure being rebuilt and upgraded for the 2030 World Cup. A stadium once criticized for its unusual look is now being reshaped into one of Morocco's most important football venues. It has already hosted 2 FIFA Club World Cup finals, but its latest major tournament ended with a ticketing scandal nobody saw coming. Then there's the heat. Marrakech's summer temperatures can push into the mid-90s Fahrenheit, forcing FIFA and global health officials to work on special measures for the tournament. And after 5 failed World Cup bids, Morocco finally has its chance. But with delays, massive spending, a changing stadium and huge expectations hanging over the city, one question remains. Can Marrakech be ready when the World Cup arrives in 2030? 11 kilometers north of Marrakech, a massive stadium rises from the desert like a fortress. Its sand-colored walls and tower-like structures echo the traditional kasbahs found across this part of Morocco. Grand Stade de Marrakech opened on January 5, 2011, after more than 7 years of construction. Designed by Italian architect Vittorio Grigotti with Moroccan architect Saad Benkirane, it quickly became one of Morocco's biggest football venues. But there was something unusual about it. Its 4 stands surrounded a full athletics track, creating a multi-purpose stadium where football fans were left farther from the action. The stadium didn't have to wait long for its first major moment. In 2013, it hosted the FIFA Club World Cup final, where Bayern Munich beat Raja Casablanca 2-0 in front of around 45,000 fans, with Dante and Thiago Alcantara scoring. But the real story came before that final. Raja had stunned Atletico Mineiro 3-1 in the semi-final, sending the home crowd into delirium and turning Marrakech into the center of world football for one unforgettable night. A year later, Marrakech hosted the tournament again, becoming one of the few African stadiums to stage back-to-back Club World Cups. It also became an important venue for Moroccan and African football, hosting international matches, AFCON qualifiers, and the 2018 African Nations Championship. Then came the first major test of transformation. Ahead of AFCON 2025, Marrakech Stadium underwent a major upgrade between early 2024 and June 2025. Dressing rooms were rebuilt, media and mixed-zone areas were modernized, and the pitch was completely relaid to meet CAF standards. It was an important upgrade, but not a complete transformation. Morocco had proven it could modernize the stadium on deadline, but the bigger challenge was still ahead. Then came 2030 and everything changed. Morocco was chosen to co-host the FIFA World Cup with Spain and Portugal, making it the first North African country to host a World Cup. Suddenly, a stadium built for the football of 2011 had to prepare for the demands of the world's biggest tournament. And Marrakech itself makes this venue different. One of Morocco's most famous tourist destinations, the city is known around the world for its historic Medina, souks, and distinctive desert setting. A World Cup match here would put the entire Red City in front of a global audience, not just the stadium, but the World Cup spotlight also exposed the limits of the old ground. The athletics track kept supporters farther from the pitch, while the multi-purpose layout was increasingly out of step with the atmosphere expected from a modern football stadium. After more than a decade, parts of the venue also needed to be brought up to the higher standards required for 2030. What once made Marrakech unique had now become one of its biggest weaknesses, and that is where the story takes a dramatic turn. Morocco wasn't going to simply give the stadium another facelift. Under state operator Sonarges, the plan was to transform this familiar fortress into something entirely different. A stadium built not for the football of 2011, but for the biggest tournament of 2030. Phase 1 wrapped up in June 2025, and it delivered exactly what a stadium chasing global relevance needed. 7 VIP lounges, 15 skyboxes, and a 180-seat panoramic restaurant suspended over the pitch, alongside wider, more comfortable seating throughout. Entry got faster too. Turnstiles jumped from 36 to 77, cutting the walk from outer gate to seat down to about a minute. But the polish came with a controversy nobody expected. During AFCON 2025, several matches were officially listed as sold out, yet television cameras showed large sections of empty seats, frustrating fans who had struggled to get tickets and raising questions about Morocco's readiness for the bigger demands of 2030. Then came the AFCON final, where Senegal's players briefly left the pitch after protesting a late penalty awarded to Morocco. The scenes soon became part of the debate over the 2030 final, with Spain's Football Federation president arguing that Spain should host the match. Days later, a British newspaper reported an allegation that FIFA president Gianni Infantino had privately promised Morocco the final in exchange for political support. FIFA denied the allegation, leaving the final venue undecided and turning a stadium renovation into part of a much bigger battle over football's biggest match. Then, in spring 2026, the stadium went dark for Phase 2, sending Kawkab de Marrakech into temporary exile at El Hati Stadium, and this is where the stadium starts fighting its own history. Out goes the athletics track that kept fans at arm's length from the pitch for over a decade. The playing surface itself drops by 6 meters, and new lower tiers of seating are built to pull spectators right up against the touchline, closing a gap that's frustrated supporters since 2011. 4 monumental columns will rise to anchor a full 360-degree canopy roof, finally giving every seat shelter from Marrakech's punishing sun. Under that roof, the stadium's very shape changes, from rectangle to octagon, a redesign led by returning architect Saad Benkirana, the same mind behind the 2011 original. The renovated venue is also holding onto its identity. Its earthy, sand-toned walls and tower-like silhouette, built to echo a fortified Casbah, are staying even as everything structural around them gets rebuilt. Inside, fans can expect 2 modern video matrix scoreboards, eco-friendly lighting systems cutting energy use by roughly 60%, and upgraded security camera coverage throughout the bowl. By 2028, Grand Stade de Marrakech is expected to hold 45,860 seats, including 119 VVIP places, 828 VIP seats, and more than 4,000 hospitality and skybox spots. A stadium once defined by its running track and distance from the action is being rebuilt, tier by tier, into one of the most football-focused arenas on the continent. And the transformation doesn't stop at the bowl itself. The complex already includes 4 FIFA-standard training pitches, giving visiting national teams and clubs dedicated facilities away from the main stadium, infrastructure most host venues have to build from scratch. A new railway station planned right beside the stadium by 2028 is designed to funnel fans in and out without the road gridlock that's plagued match days for years, tying the venue directly into Morocco's wider transport push ahead of 2030. Every piece of it, pitch, roof, training grounds, road and rail, is racing toward the same deadline. Before any of this construction started, Morocco had already failed 5 times. 5 separate World Cup bids, stretching back to 1994, including a bid for 2010 that narrowly lost to South Africa, and another failed attempt just for 2026. When Morocco finally won the right to co-host in 2030, officials called it decades in the making, a chance to finally prove the country belonged on football's biggest stage. Turning that dream into reality hasn't been simple, though. Marrakech's own renovation work began back in 2023, originally targeting completion by 2027, but the project has already run into delays, pushing that timeline later than planners hoped. Nationwide, the country has committed somewhere between 50 and 60 billion dirhams, roughly £4.8 billion, just for stadium construction, on top of billions more for airports, rail lines and roads. Even Casablanca's massive 115,000-seat centrepiece, the frontrunner to host the final, had only reached about 40% completion by May 2026, leaving a tight window before kickoff. That level of spending hasn't gone unquestioned. Critics have argued the money poured into stadiums could do more good funding, healthcare, education and job creation instead, pointing to South Africa's experience after 2010, where several World Cup stadiums turned into expensive, underused white elephants once the tournament ended. Labour watchdogs have raised concerns too, questioning working conditions on construction sites, comparisons that inevitably echo the scrutiny Qatar faced building its own stadiums for 2022. Government officials insist national labour laws will be enforced and that Qatar-style abuses won't be repeated here. On top of all that, Marrakech's brutal summer heat, with average July highs in the mid-90s Fahrenheit and zero shade over the actual pitch, has pushed FIFA and the World Health Organization into building a dedicated heat safety plan just for this tournament. Yet the upside is just as real, and it explains why Morocco pushed so hard for this moment. Thousands of construction jobs have already been created building these stadiums, with hundreds more permanent roles expected in event management, security, and hospitality once the venues open. Officials project the tournament will inject billions into the economy, and the infrastructure boom stretches far beyond football, funding new airports, highways, and rail lines that will serve residents for decades after the final whistle. Tourism is already climbing as the country's global profile rises, and Marrakech's renovation alone is expected to draw fresh hotel investment into a city that depends heavily on visitors. Delays, spending fights, and brutal heat sit right alongside new jobs, new infrastructure, and a level of global attention this city has never had before. Whether that trade-off proves worth it will likely take years to answer, but for now, all roads keep pointing to one date: kickoff in 2030. Do you think Marrakech will be ready in time? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more football stories.